Hello and welcome to the next chapter in our series, Pocket Production. My name is Ryan Wilcox. I'm a media consultant at the Duderstadt Center at the University of Michigan, and in this session, we're going to discuss developing your story and preparing for your shoot. So far, we've talked about lighting, shot composition, camera stability, working with audio, interviewing techniques. Now, all you need is a story to tell. Believe it or not, sometimes a movie production company will make a movie for the sole purpose of making money. I know. I didn't believe it myself when I first started this work. However, there is one thing that frequently accompanies a movie made for the sole purpose of making money. It looks and sounds pretty great, but has no substance. Fortunately, we aren't here for the big bucks, right? Right? This thing on? More important than any special effect or elaborate camera shot is a strong, solid idea behind it. That's no easy feat, but if you've been assigned a class project, well, now you have a topic. Great! How do we develop it into a story that people will want to watch? You don't need to start with, once upon a time, or it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, as you're developing your story. Have a topic that you're planning on discussing in your video? Great! Now, write about the things you want to include in the story. And no, I don't mean take notes. Actually start writing it out as if you're pitching the idea to friends. Something like, hey, do you know there are some people that are really scared of GMOs? Well, what we're going to do over the next few minutes is discuss the topic of using genetically modified organisms. For starters, what's a GMO? Once you have something written down, you can break it into sections, chapters, scenes, all of those things to use in your video. Heck, I've been doing this workshop on pocket production for a few years now, but had to actually organize the entire discussion for a series of short instructional videos. I knew what I wanted, but I had to get it written down so I could begin the process. As the thoughts and ideas are discussed and developed, it starts sounding less like a story that you're telling to a friend and begin to take the shape of your more common storytelling methods. For a large-scale presentation or informative session, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and you tell them what you told them. It works quite well, actually. Each section will have multiple parts, but you have now begun to develop your story. A few versions into your initial pitch idea, and you'll have a script in your hands. One of the things I think is really left out when it comes to developing your stories are the transition between scenes or chapters in your story. People will work very hard at the dialogue between two of their actors in a restaurant. How do they get home after all the hubbub that occurred while in the restaurant? How do we transition to the next scene without just fading to black and fading in again? I mean, the technique works fine, but what's happened while we're watching the camera fade? Consider the ease of the shoot. Don't be lazy, but if you don't have the locations or props to do an 18th century period piece, maybe don't do it. And similarly, if you don't have the budget to make something truly dramatic, it'll likely turn into a comedy, but for all the wrong reasons. Comedies rely on the actors being funny and delivering their lines more so than impressive shot selection or dramatic effects. In documentary-style videos, understand you may have a big change of heart due to the evidence you uncover while making your video. One example I frequently use is Bill Nye the Science Guy was against GMOs until he began researching the topic. And he's learned that we have been genetically modifying foods for hundreds of years, and research supports it that it's safe and it has improved the quality of the product produced. I bring this up just to let you know that you might go in looking to solve one problem, but learn that the cause is completely different than you first understood. And maybe adjusting the topic of your video to show the new research or your new results could be a benefit. See? Wasn't that easy? Now you have a story to tell. As you get ready for your first video shoot, organizing your needs ahead of time will save you some time throughout your production. We'll start with organizing your story, so you know what you want to bring with you as you get ready to start shooting. Storyboarding is a really good way to take your written script and visualize it. Storyboarding is nothing more than the comic book of your video. You can draw up the dialogue that is to be used in a scene and physically draw the individual shots that you want to use for each section when you're shooting it. Here's an image of a basic storyboard. Now this is a great approach, especially when you're working with a team of people and they all want to see what each shot needs to look like. You don't even have to be a good artist. I tend to use a pretty crude technique for storyboarding. I'll pretty much just use stick figures. I'll use a triangle for a nose, so I know which way they're looking on the screen. And on their chest, I'll just put their first initial so I know who is in front of the camera at any given time. This works well for narrative storytelling. I do have another type of storytelling or storyboarding that I'd like to show you, however. I think that much of the time it can be easier to develop and is less time consuming. I take my script in a Word-style document and I just add a second table, side by side. The left table is the dialogue, what I will be saying throughout the video, and in the right column will be a description of what we will be seeing while the dialogue is occurring. Here is the exact script I put together for this series of videos. You can see, because of all the narration in my videos, accompanied by several B-roll types of shots, it really makes sense to have it all typed up this way. Once you have the entire piece visualized, so you know everything you will need to get the shots that you want, you can begin planning for your shoot. Here's a quick list of some of the things that you will probably have on your list for the first day of shooting. Obviously, this can get to be a little long very, very quickly. It's easy to forget something, anything really. Here's how to help get you all of your gear together for your shoot. Traditionally, we use 3x5 or 4x6 note cards and list everything necessary for a specific day's shoot. Have a list of everything you need to bring, who's supposed to be there, what equipment is necessary for both in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. Everything necessary, personnel, extension cords, power supplies, that you see the list here. Stage all that gear beforehand. In the days leading up, put together a place with laundry baskets and bags that you can keep things for your shoot so you aren't running around at the last minute trying to gather everything at once. Check off the items you have staged so that way you know what is on the list and left to get to gather together. Once you have the gear together, leave it there. Now, make this same list for each and every day of planned shooting. Don't use the same list. The needs will be different as people and locations change. Yes, you can certainly use modern methods of project management software if you feel that it'll work better for you. The 3x5 cards is just an example. I just strongly recommend committing to keeping up with the list. It's real easy on day 1 to have all of your ducks in a row, but by day 5, you're just kind of winging it. It's a little bit more work, but it makes your life so much easier throughout the entire production. If it's a real big production and you have several bags, crates, bins of equipment, it's not a bad idea to list what gear goes into each container. It's really easy to lose objects when multiple people are putting things away. We will list the contents of a container and even take a photo of the kit so we know where everything is supposed to go. It makes finding your equipment faster after your 3rd or 4th setup. In conclusion, write your story like you're telling it to a friend. Refine, reduce, develop your story into your program. Don't be afraid to change gears if necessary. Storyboard. At least outline what is being seen while we are reading through the script. Organize everything that you will want to have in front of you and behind the camera. Well, that about wraps up these first videos on pocket production. I really hope it's been helpful. I'm happy to answer questions in the comment section below for non-university community. For those who have my contact information and are an active part of the University of Michigan, please feel free to email me so we can continue this conversation. Thank you very much.